In the Led Zeppelin song called Battle of Evermore, there's a line, "The pain of war cannot exceed the woe of aftermath." This had me thinking last night about the hormones that run through our body and our ego. And it rings so true because when you're in the heat of battle, any kind of battle, one within your mind even, it doesn't have to be like a war, like, fighting, because most of us aren't going to go through that, thankfully. But in the heat of some strenuous, crazy situation, your adrenaline starts pumping and you're running on that instinct. Well, you can channel those hormones. Think of them like kind of like a dog. If you train those dogs, that's why I go back to that training. If you train those hormones, that adrenaline and everything that pumps through, the dopamine hits, the serotonin, everything. If you can train those to work for you instead of against you, to work in a positive manner, and to only take instruction from your heart and not your ego, then you will have the most loyal pets you will ever imagine. It'd go from like a service dog to, some kind of hellhound, that's working against you all the time. And because the ego trains it not to listen to your heart, not to listen to anything except for the ego. And when it's so terrified, when the ego is so terrified, it just unleashes those dogs. It says, here, it's a crazy situation, you go. Or it's I see this beautiful person here. Why don't release the dopamine, or for gambling or drugs or whatever. It can all work for you, but we have it work against you. And that is one of the hardest parts to figure out in life, because nobody focuses on actually refining those things. Nobody focuses on spirituality enough. We focus on mental health, we focus on physical health, but we don't focus ever on that spiritual health until we have usually some profound message, and then that's when we finally open our eyes. And the thing is, like, you need to have an arsenal of every single tool that God gives you, listening to your heart instead of your ego. Your ego is always going to betray you. It's always got your worst interest in mind. I shouldn't say always, because obviously it's telling us to get dressed in the mornings. It's telling us to do this and that. But for the most part, the ego is working against us all the time. Okay, so maybe here's a better explanation of it. Think of it as a team of sled dogs pulling your sled. And if you train them well enough, you will have a perfect run. If you just let them do whatever they're going to do and have the ego just let them run wild, you're going to have chaos in your life. Your hormones are going to betray you every single time. That's just a tool that isn't used properly can turn into a weapon against you. Overcoming your ego with optimism and adaptability. You have to be adaptable. Things are going to change up on you so often. That's just part of life. The darkness is always going to be there, and you're always going to have to overcome it. But once it becomes second nature, when you're following God instead of your ego, that's like the cheat code. God bless you all.